You're listening to the Big Blue Podcast. I'm Greg Stone, Metro Campus Provost, here as always with my co-host, Dr. Leigh Goodson, President of Tulsa Community College. Good morning, Dr. Goodson.
Hi, how are you, Dr. Stone?
I'm well, and today we are at Southeast Campus. It's History Day, and if I could take a quick second before we introduce and talk with Peggy Spears, who's our guest. There are so many TCC employees, not only who volunteer at History Day, but who, as judges and as helping to coordinate entries. But I think we should also give a big shout out to Professor Pat Trusty, who is our longtime geography faculty member here at Southeast Campus, who takes this on year after year and just does a spectacular job in coordinating all the efforts. So Pat Trusty, thank you for your great work with History Day as always. It's really exciting to get to walk around and see all the students, all the people who are judging.
Lots of energy. And
That's great. Yep. It's always great. But our guest today is Peggy Spears, who's Assistant Professor of Respiratory Care and our new Program Director in Respiratory Care. Peggy, thanks for coming out to Southeast.
Thank you for having me. It's really great to be here.
Well, and as I've mentioned to you before, I know respiratory care pretty well. My dad was a respiratory therapist, and for a lot of years was on the advisory board here for our respiratory program. So I know a bit of your world.
And Greg, did he finish the program here?
No, he was not in the program here. He started the program here, finished somewhere else, but then came back years later and was on the advisory board. So
nice.
He always enjoyed that time. And Peggy, you're in your first year as a TCC employee. What drew you to Tulsa and made you interested in coming to work here at Tulsa Community College?
Well, it was definitely twofold. The director that was here before was Gary Persing, and if anyone out there in respiratory care world is listening, you know that name. Mm-hmm. So Gary called me and asked me if I would consider coming. Gary is a nationally known professional in our field and just is highly acclaimed in every area. So it was both thrilling and possibly a little frightful to think about following such a giant in the field. And so that's one of the main reasons that I came, is that I knew I would be stepping into an arena where there was a deep root of professionalism for respiratory therapy already planted. And as a sideline, and something that no one really knew, is that my oldest son lives here in Tulsa with my 3 tiny grandbabies. And so I'm not sure I could call that a coincidence, and I just couldn't pass it up.
I don't think you can call that a
so
coincidence.
Both professionally and personally. And if you guys are out there hearing me, this is Grandma.
That's fun.
Well, I'm sure they're glad to have you here, too. And I would just say, too, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but you're pretty well known yourself on the national scale. There's a reason Gary knew to get in touch with you, so it's exciting to have you here at the college.
Gary is known on the national scale because he is amazingly talented. I am known on the national scale because I've been out there so long they had no choice but to acknowledge me.
Oh, I don't think so.
Don't underrate yourself. Well, it is a time of transition in the respiratory care program. So tell us a little bit about what that's like for you and other new team members in the program.
You know, that's been paramount, and I think it's insightful that you would bring that up. I didn't realize that because I've been at the facility where I was for decades, and I did not realize what familiarity brought to the table, all the way from knowing the people to how to get to the various campuses, down to how to use the particular voicemail or where the scanner was. So very quickly, I think that when you get somewhere new, you have a honeymoon. And we did. There's new faculty there. We have our team table meetings where we gather together. But quickly, I realized that in order to take the program forward, I was going to have to lead strategically and with intentionality. So I asked myself the question, how can I get home? And I remembered that I had learned through the years that home is where the heart is. And I clearly and quickly was able to identify that home for me at the community college is in the classroom. So I decided to lead the program from the classroom out, that the classroom was our ground wire, that that's the place where joy is, learning takes place, that love takes place, and from there you stand and impact your community and impact the world. And it doesn't really matter, where the scanner is, but it does matter that students are learning and that a community is being built that can go out and touch first Tulsa, then Oklahoma, then the nation, and internationally as well. That's been our transition. I had to get home.
I think there are any number of us, whether we're brand new to the college or if we've been here a while, who could benefit from thinking about it that way. It really is about the classroom. Yeah. And everything else will fall into place. Absolutely. Peggy is a new faculty member here. You're also in this year's class of ATE, which I think most people know, the Academy for Teaching Excellence. Tell us about what that experience has been like for you, and what you've gotten out of it, how it's helped your transition into the system.
The ATE for me has been a way for me to get in a community of colleagues and peers. And there's been a lot of great things that we've done, but the thing that's meant the most definitely is meeting other people, a lot of them that are still just coming to Tulsa or coming new to TCC, and just sharing that overlap so that, now when I go to a conference day or like the upcoming Pathways Institute, I'll be able to see some people that I know that know me, and that just feels really wonderful.
I remember one of the things from my AT experience when I went through was getting to make really good connections, some of which grew into just personal friendships with faculty members who worked in other departments, on other campuses, who probably otherwise I never would have known, couldn't have collaborated with, let alone to have those other kinds of good connections that AT does. So that's always a fun thing about it.
It's been great.
Well, we're visiting today with Peggy Spears, Program Director and Assistant Professor of Respiratory Care. We're so glad to have you here on the Big Blue Podcast.
Thank you.
We're at History Day, and we've got hundreds of middle and high school students here at History Day. And or are they just really tall middle school students, Dr. Stone? Are there some high school students?
I think there are some junior high and maybe some high school students.
Okay,
too.
Because there are some tall students out there. You know what I'm saying? So I just assumed that they're high school students, but you never know because there's a lot of tall students. Well, Peggy, you're a member of the Board of Directors of the National Network of Associate Degree Respiratory Care. Tell us a little bit about what that is and what's happening in that organization.
I'm happy to speak about that. And just as a side note, I am speaking at our national conference during spring break. And we will be looking deeply at some of the issues that have presented themselves in the field. Working at the national level on the board of directors puts me in a position where I can fight for the student in a different way. Some of the things that are really under pressure in our field right now is where the entry level point should be for a respiratory therapist, where it should stay at the associate degree level, which I'm strongly in favor of, or whether we should move that line. And so I think to describe what's happening to us as a field is that when I came in the field, which has now been decades, we were in our infancy, but we've moved as respiratory therapy profession to me as a teenager. So we are stretching our muscles and having to find a way to go forward without leaving the door of opportunity open to those that would enter the field. Some of the things particularly that are about are the possibility in the future of being given a limited license for writing prescriptions for things that would be like for asthma or something like that. So what are we doing to answer those things? We are at a time where critical thinking in the classroom has moved to the top of the list, so that we have moved to where our decision making in the field has grown to the point where we've got to do something to grow with that. So we are looking at 2+2+1 programs with various institutions like Georgia State University, so that a student could start at the Tulsa Community College, and then we could find an agreement with a baccalaureate program. And the master's degree program is online, but it gives them a seamless ladder to move in, so we don't have to fall into the temptation of degree creep or those things that would limit a community college student. And it gives the student a place to come, get the associate degree, get a great job, step out for a minute if they want, and then come back and continue. So respiratory therapy is becoming a field where you can grow and grow and grow. And I love that about it.
That's nice.
I know one of your research interests, I remember we talked about this when you were interviewing for the position last year. You really care strongly about team agreement and have done some research in team agreement.
Yes.
Why is team agreement so integral to good health care?
Well, to answer that, I've got to move away in some ways with anything that has to do with education. This concept to me is something that I have just found to be true in life, is that agreement is the most powerful force that there is. And so if you have educators and colleagues, and then if you get back inside that classroom, see, this is where the birthing takes place. You go back inside that classroom, and your work, your hard work, is not your syllabi. Your hard work is that you will go to whatever extent it takes to build agreement and a place of overlap in relationship, in unity between the teacher or professor or whatever. I'm a teacher, between the instructors and the students and the administration. When you have a group of people that are pressing forward for the same thing at the same time for the same reason, what you have is something that touches the world. Now, in respiratory therapy, we call ourselves the givers of life, because that's what we are preparing ourselves to do, is to give life. It is an amazing honor to be a part of a profession where at the end of the day, a man lived that would not have lived because you stood and prepared yourself and were given the grace to be there in that moment. Last week, one of my faculty, I said, "How's it going?" She said, "I had a great day this morning." I said, "Well, what did you do?" And she told about how she saved the life of a baby. You can't do that without agreement. So if there's discord, competition that's unreasonable, ambition that's turned inward, those things are enemies of the classroom. And it is for that reason that I hope that I can stand for agreement and team effort for the rest of my life.
Are you available for speaking at large groups?
We can just end it right there.
I'm worried about moving on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What a powerful day we've had with our interviews today,
Absolutely.
Greg. That's
Absolutely.
amazing.
And you're right. I mean, so
The power of agreement. Wow. It is. It's almost physics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Physics of human energy, really.
And I've learned, and sorry, but in some instances the hard way, I've learned it doesn't have to be that you're in agreement with everything that person believes about life or whatever. You just take that focus of learning And we're in agreement that today we're going to learn, the bronchial tubes. And it becomes fun, and it becomes explosive.
It has a purpose. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it gives life.
Literally.
Literally.
In your case. Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally.
Wow. Thank you for that answer. We're not done with the interview, but I want to make sure and say that before we move on. All right. I'm going to, this next question, I think this next question is about grit. You're really interested in researching the role of what determination plays in student completion. And when I read that about you, it just reminded me of the word grit. And there's a lot of talk about the word grit right now among people that are successful, even though they may have come from whatever background.
Right.
So talk to us a little bit about that and what's your ideal student. And I understand you've also, we'd love to give you the opportunity to make a pitch for some of the, is it admission workshops?
Pre-admission conferences.
Okay, all right. So that was a lot of questions, but if you could just dive right into some of that.
Just so you'll know, this is my favorite question, and it's the one I couldn't wait to answer. Now, I can't publish this research in a book, but through the years and through so many now, numerous students in unbelievable situations and obstacles, I've come to this conclusion. Give me the student that looks at me and says, yes, ACT, GPA, la. But give me the student that looks at me and says, I don't really know why, but I just have to do this. Yeah. And I will show you a human being that will absolutely complete the program. I'm not saying that there won't be hardship involved in it, or maybe some real hard work involved in it. But to me, it's simply turned in to that somebody throws the ball and somebody catches the ball. And when you have that between the instructor and the student, there, to me, is no failure. So what I'm looking for is somebody that you've made up your mind, there's just something inside of you. You're going down the highway driving and you're just constantly daydreaming about how you want to do something with your life to help other people. And that you've made up your mind that you will set your face like a flint, and it does not matter what happens, what obstacle, you will not quit. I'm ready to say that 99% of the people that ever quit in the years and the decades that I've done this, they would have successfully completed if they just would not quit. And so I'm looking for a student that wants to do whatever it takes to prepare themselves so they can get out there and give themselves away so that they can live a better life and that they can touch others to live a better life. And I'm looking for a student that, yes, these other things are important. I'm not being lighthearted about them. They are important, but they're not as important to me as a human being that's made up their mind that they're going forward. This is a community college, and we want you to come start here and give us the honor of being a part of your journey as you become the best that you can become.
Kind of makes me want to go apply for the program.
Well, once again, for the second time today, a podcast we need to be playing to all of our students. Exactly. All 3 podcasts, really. We've had a great day.
Do you want to briefly talk about those workshops?
I do. I just want to say, now, first I want to say this. The older I get, the more I just say it. You've only got a few years to be here. I'm not doing this to recruit. I do want to recruit you if we match, but I'm speaking from my heart and I mean it. If you're out there and you hear me and you want to apply for respiratory therapist, if something in you is interested, I'm having 3 pre-admission conferences. One actually is today. It's at 1:45 at the Metro campus in MC 617. There's another one Monday afternoon at 2:30.
And that'd be Monday,
Then March 6th
March 6th. At what time?
at 2:30, and it's in the same room. They're all in the same room, MC 617, and then I'm having one Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. Now, you don't have to call or RSVP. It's just I'll be standing there. If you want to come talk to me about respiratory therapy, even if you've already applied and you've got questions, I'm just going to be there to receive you or anyone. I'm always have time for anybody that wants to talk about respiratory therapy.
So, Peggy, if our podcast doesn't get up online fast enough to accommodate these dates, what would a student do to find out more about your program?
You could, I have a flyer out there, and if you will email me, I'll give you my home email, or you could use my email at the college.
Yeah.
My home email is easy to remember. I work with children, so I got an easy one. It's my first name, Peggy, P-E-G-G-Y, followed by the number 7 times. So, yes, that's 7, at AOL.com.
You still have an AOL email?
I do.
Still have an
Do
AOL
you
email.
really? I love AOL.
Oh,
And
I still have a Hotmail address. So anyway,
I
okay.
have a cell phone that I've designated for any student that ever wants to call me to have availability. So that's 502-599-3928. Text or call anytime. Let's go change the world. Let's go help those that need a breath of life. I hope to hear from you soon.
Peggy, we just have about a minute left, but we want to ask you the big question that we ask all of our guests. And I feel like you've already given so much of this advice already, but I want to ask it anyway. If you could go back in time and give your 18-year-old college-going self some advice, what would that advice be?
Panic is more dangerous than enemy guns. Fear of failure is a joke. You can do it. Don't wait. Don't think about anything that your life's been in the past. That was then. This is now. Step forward. Make that call. Don't wait. You can do anything that you can do. The thing that I have learned is that all things are possible for those that believe. Tulsa Community College Respiratory Care Department believes in you.
I want to start the program just to be around your enthusiasm, Peggy.
I know, right?
That comes from my grandbabies.
I love it. Well, thank you so
you.
much. This
Thank
has
you.
been really our privilege
Yeah.
to
My
be around
privilege
you
to
this
be here.
morning. And I'm just so grateful to meet you and learn about your leadership.
My privilege to be here.
Thank you, Dr. Stone.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Big Blue Podcast, coming to you today from History Day at Southeast Campus. So we've got a lot of great advice from our 3 guests today for our students that are out in the hallways. We want to thank you, Peggy Spears, for joining us, and we want to thank you for listening. I'm Leigh Goodson, president of TCC, here with my good friend, Dr. Greg Stone, provost of Metro Campus. We hope you'll join us next time. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right.